There we go. Alright. So anyway, so you're like just ready to break out of the Bay of Pigs in Guantanamo Bay, and or no, fuck, not. I'm stupid. The Bay of Pigs in Cuba. I haven't slept in a long time. Anyway, so you're ready to break out, and you're like in this plane, and you guys are like, oh no, there's some rubble in the middle of the road. And instead of just being like, okay, let's just increase speed and fucking take off before the rubble, my guy, who's the biggest retard ever, is like, no, I'm gonna jump out of my airplane, go over to a machine gun, because Call of Duty is one of those awesome games where apparently no matter what you're shooting at, if you shoot it enough, it explodes. So you're like, oh yeah, you guys take off, without me, and I'm like shooting at God knows what, and it explodes, and then of course they take off before they would have even hit the rubble, which is absolutely just fantastic. And then of course, by the way, I'd like to give a big round of applause here to Call of Duty Black Ops, because I know that it is physically impossible for any modern first-person shooter to make a video game that doesn't involve your character randomly just being in Russia, but this was the first game that I have played that actually had a reason for you being there. I know how we all just get great big boners when we talk about, oh, being in Russia, I am Russian sniper. No, like, this one actually had a reason, and it was like you started off with not a fucking sniper rifle, and you just have infinity bullets, and you can just take 8,000 bullets to your face and you're fine. No, you're just like in a prison with a knife, because, like I said, you yourself don't get out of the Bay of Pigs, and so earlier in the game, you shoot Castro, but it's not really Castro, it's a stunt double. So the real Castro is pissed and just sells you to a Russian dude, God knows who, for just torturing purposes, and you get put in some ridiculous detainment center. Anyway, and it's in Russia. So that's how you get to Russia. You put that out there. Anyway, so a beef I have with this game is that when my plane's about to take off, and I'm shooting at some fucking thing in the middle of the runway, which is apparently so important to be on, even though my plane takes off before it would have hit it. I need to shoot it, but the great thing is that I don't even know what the fuck it is, and that's the problem I have with a lot of video games today, is that they all assume that everybody and their mom has basically TVs as big as the fucking IMAX, and I don't think they realize that not everybody has TVs that fucking big. And a good example of that is the game Mass Effect 2. So, like a few months or like a year or something ago, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna rent the game Mass Effect 2 for Xbox. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Take it home to my, pretty average sized television, put it in, and like, 10 minutes into the game, use my space gun and shoot some space aliens, bam, 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 right? And then like, I'm not really following the story at this point because I haven't played Mass Effect 1, whatever. And I had rented this game on like a Friday. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play this all weekend, whatever. And I get about 10 minutes into the game, and I'm like on my ship, and I'm like, oh cool, I own a ship, this is cool. I'm like, is it a free roam? Can I go through space? And the great part about this game is I don't know if it's a free roam, I don't know if it's an RPG, I don't know if it's an FPS, I don't know if it's a third-person shooter, I don't know if it's a turn-based strategy game. I don't know anything about it because I wasn't able to play this game, because once I get onto this ship, I don't know what the fuck to do, because all of the instructions, all of the menus, all of the words in this game that are printed are so goddamn small and thin, I can't read them. So I'm walking around my ship for like an hour, just like, oh hey, what am I supposed to do? And I get excited because occasionally, I talk to people, and when I talk to people, like, there's a cutscene, of just me talking to them, and usually in games, I'm used to a cutscene signifying something happening. No, not in Mass Effect 2. It's just like, oh cool, that was a cutscene getting me all excited for learning my pilot's fucking life story. That's just fantastic. That's what I want. And so, I learn my pilot's goddamn life story. That's absolutely fantastic, because I give a shit about that. And I'm like, hey, maybe I just activated something? Maybe? No, activated absolutely nothing. And it's like, usually in video games, I'm used to uh, when cutscenes actually signify something happening, when you talking to people actually start something, except for, of course, the Assassin's Creed series, the latter two, because those games where it's like, oh yeah, you gotta talk to these three people, and only three people, to get back in the animes and go back to kicking ass, except for, I talked to all three of those people, and nothing happens. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, it's, just a glitch. And then I was like, wait, no, it couldn't be. Go back and talk to them all again, and they all say the same pointless shit to me, reworded slightly, and then cutscene starts. And I was like, really, I had to talk to everybody twice. They couldn't have just put each speech dialogue into one thing. No, 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 no. And let me tell you, these are some of the least helpful people ever. Like, ridiculously unhelpful. You got one chick who's just kind of like the whole way just like being that like bro that's encouraging you, but like slightly violently is just like, hey, we're gonna get through this. I believe in you. And you're like, oh, that's great. Keep telling me that in different phrases because that's why I need you to do this. The other chick is just like, because every game needs to create like a hot techie chick, just so guys will play their games. So they need to have a character in there who's a hot techie chick who knows a lot about computers and shit like that. And that is where this chick comes from. That is her only purpose in this game, is just to be that hot techie chick. And there's a guy who I don't actually know his name, but I'm just gonna call him the douchebag with a scarf, and because that's all he really is. In that game, was just like a douchebag with a scarf who has some god knows what accent. He was totally unimportant to the story of the game. Who at every fucking turn of the way in that game is just being as discouraging as possible. It's just like every 5 seconds, just like, no, that's a bad idea. No, you shouldn't do that. No, no, you're gonna fail. Oh, this is a horrible idea. It's like, you know what? Unless you want to give me some good ideas, then you can just leave, because I really don't need you. Because, at this point, I don't actually know the story of the game, because I tried to learn the story of the game. I tried to play Assassin's Creed 1, but no, I got that for the PC, my mistake. Because, let me explain you something about the PC version of Assassin's Creed. It's not one of those games where it's just like, you're walking, and then you push or hold A, and you're running, and you can jump over shit. No, 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 no. It is, so it's like, there's 3 different options that you have to activate to do the running, jumping over shit, climbing up buildings thing. And the thing is it's not like a click to activate, it is like you have to hold down all of those things, and all of those buttons that you have to activate to be running and to be attacking and shit are all over the keyboard, but you can't use both hands because you use your mouse to move the fuck around. So, that's just fantastic. I essentially have to be Slenderman to be able to push all of these keys at the same time to run, and then I'm attacking people. And then, of course, this is the PC version. So, whenever I swing my mouse too hard to attack somebody, I accidentally, somehow, even though this is a full screen game, click out of the game, and it's like, oh, cool, my desktop. And at this point, I really don't even care that much. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna go have some ice cream. I'm already dead. And I come back, and it's like, oh, cool. Even though I was on the brink of an 80-story building about to fall off with like 700 guards following me, and I just clicked out of the game, so I completely became AFK. Apparently, they just lost me while I was standing up there just going, whoa, that's fantastic. And then I can't get back into full screen mode, so I'd have to go in there, save my game, spend about an hour turning it off and then turning it back on again, because Assassin's Creed can't let you just go, okay, game fucking off. No, Assassin's Creed wants you to go, okay, save game, exit Animus. Now you're in another building. Now you're still in the game, just in a different part of the game. It's like Inception. It's like, okay, you've exited dream number 79. Now you gotta exit into dream number 78. Once you progress down to dream number 0, then you can actually turn the game off. Basically, that's how this works. So I get out of the Animus. From that point, I can get to the main menu from exiting, and then from the main menu, I can exit the game and turn it back on. And this whole time, I'm thinking, with all of these buttons I have to push down to make my guy, jump off buildings and climb up them and, do all this skippity-scoppity shit, I mean, it would honestly be less physical exertion on my part to just go out and actually do all that shit. And, another fantastic thing about this game is that, in the first game, which progresses extremely slowly, at least for me, because that shit keeps happening, is, like, it starts out the first time you do this one move, is like, you just summon the spirit of Western Eagle and jump off a building, and you're just like, oh god, this other guy told me to do it, but this is a bad idea, and like, as you're jumping off, you hear this eagle cry, and then you land in this giant thing of hay that's like, you essentially just jumped off the Empire State Building and landed in maybe like, 3 or 4 feet of hay, but your guy, like, comes out of it and he like has a broken leg and he's just like and you're like, oh hey, maybe this game won't ever make you do that again. No, 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 because that is now a requirement to do on a regular basis, is jump off giant buildings into 3 feet of hay and survive, and you'll be doing this like one after another. Like, my guy isn't even getting fatigued. You get down like a series of like 30 of these drops into hay, and then you're like, okay, I'm done. No, 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 because your guy now still has enough energy to then climb another building that is as tall as all the ones I just jumped off of. That's one of the most ridiculous parts of this game. And so, anyway, it's a very silly thing. But that's not what this is about. This is about the movie Dusk Till Dawn. So anyway, so the dad gets out the shotgun, which for God knows what reason, it's like a pump action shotgun, but the pump has like a handle on it. It's like here's the actual pump, and then there's like also a little like piece of metal that's a handle. So your hand would go like between that little gap there. And so he also gets a baseball bat out, which is apparently also one of the bar, because apparently you need both. And so he like, oh, vampires aren't such fans of crosses. Sticks the baseball bat in that little handle. He's like, oh, I've got a cross. And that works for a couple seconds, and he realizes these vampires really don't give a shit. And so, just starts, shooting them, makes his way to the back room where where everybody else is. Well, by everybody else, I mean at this point, Quentin Tarantino is dead, and yeah, at this point, Quentin Tarantino is dead, and so he gets back there, and like it's George Clooney, and the daughter and the son gets back in that room, and they knocks on the door, and he's like, all right, I don't have that long to live. I need everybody to promise that they're gonna kill me if I turn into a vampire. I'm already bit. And they're like, oh no, you can't do that. And he's like, well, if you don't kill me, I'm gonna kill myself. They're like, Dad, you're a Christian. You don't believe in suicide. And he's like, I'm already dead. It's not suicide. Makes a good promise to kill him. They're like, alright, so we gotta get some fucking weapons here. So they're like, okay, we gotta look for weapons. And of course, they find him. So the girl, who up to this point is like, just been totally not okay with any of this. Just like, oh my god, I know this vampire's trying to kill me, but it's icky, I don't have to do it. And she just magically becomes a badass, opens a coffin, and finds a pump-action crossbow, and just like gets this look of murder in her eyes, and it's like, when did that happen? And so then the son finds like a super soaker, and at that point, George Clooney's like, okay, dude, I don't care what happened to your wife. I don't really care what happened to your faith. You have to totally just stop being a bitch about this and just call yourself a preacher so that you can just basically bless tap water and turn it into holy water so we can fuck up these vampires. So he's like, yeah, okay, I'll stop being a bitch. I'll stop having such tender tits. And so, blesses tap water, fills up water balloons, and fills up super soakers with that. George Clooney gets this. I don't know what it is, but it's some sort of giant mechanism that you put something in the business end of it, and it makes it go right, like a shake weight. And so he just puts like a giant stake, like a wooden stake, like about that big in there, because apparently they just have those. Puts that in there, he's like, yeah, you do some damage with this one. And the dad has the shotgun, and George Clooney has the revolver. And no, George Clooney. Someone keeps the revolver on them. Somebody gets two weapons. I don't know. The short end of the stick there. Anyway, so they go out there. They fuck some shit up. They have to kill Richard Roundtree. They have to kill Sex Machine. They eventually have to kill the dad, and they eventually have to kill the son. And then finally they're like cornered in by vampires. And they're like, oh lordy lordy. And then the sun rises, and all the bullet holes start having sunshine come through, and it's like, oh shit, this video is about to die. I can apparently make these only 15 minutes long, and I'm recording them, so I'm just gonna sit here and stare at the camera for the next 20 seconds.